Welcome to Artflakes. My name is Mutiu Olawuyi. As usual, again, we're going deeply into another literary world of an East African country, which is Malawi. And I'm not going to say much until we get to the other side of the studio, where my guests will be waiting for me. Let's meet there and we'll discuss in detail. See you. Welcome once again. As I've told you, on the other side of the studio, we'll be focusing on Malawi literature. And as usual, Mr. Umar Osabo is here to explore the content with me. Welcome.
How are you today?
Yeah, I'm very fine.
Good.
Yeah. So today we are going to be considering the first episode, focusing basically on the Malawians. Who are the Malawians? What makes them different from other people in Africa and outside Africa? What makes them unique? What is special about them? What about their history? What about their culture? Their religion, their lifestyle? We're going to be looking at this in detail in this episode. So I'm going to hand over to you to tell us more about the people we call the Malawians.
Yes.
Who are they?
The great country of lakes, just like their neighbor Zambia, Malawi. The name Malawi itself is carved from the word Marabi. They were ancient people. Their history could be as far back as the Stone Age, the Iron Age, as well as the Neolithic Age. They were originally among the earliest men, because the archaeological findings, which you just have in 1991, has it that the prehistory stone stool, fossils, and human skulls that are found in around Lake Malawi is as old as 2.3 to 2.5 million years old.
Yeah, you're right.
It's one of the second oldest traces of human being on Earth, after the Odovan Gorge in Tanzania. So this is directly or indirectly telling you that the people of Malawi are one of the earliest people. And history also have it that the jaw bones found in this region is similar to the structure of the people that are found today in the present day Horn of Africa. This is to tell you that directly or indirectly, some of the people in the Horn of Africa actually mutated from that part of Africa. What I'm trying to say is that Africa, from all documents, from all genetic analysis, as well as archaeological or historical findings, is said to be the mother of the world. That is, modern man started in Africa, from Odova Gorge to Malawi and other part of the African. And recently, we were able to discover that the people of Malawi, just as the Tanzanian people, were among the earliest Africa who have access to iron. Iron, and they were into hunting, they were farmers.
I want us to look at that economic life of the people, particularly the area of the Maravi Empire's economic life, particularly in the area of farming and others.
Yes.
What can you say holistically about their economic life in the past, now, comparatively? How have they been able to grow in that area?
Before 1530, when the Portuguese came to Malawi, the people were mostly farmers. they farm millet, they farm shogun. But when the Portuguese came, they introduced corn or maize to them. So they were also nomadics. They were also into rearing of animals, sheep, cattle, and all that. And they were also into hunting. They were also, the petty way of doing things. Even before the coming of the Portuguese in 1530, they've had people moving to and fro, like the Congos, the Zambians, even the Bantus. At a point in time, the Bantus came and they drove the original owners of the land, that is the Maravi people that we came to know in modern time as the Malawians. They drove them, but later they were able to settle together, and they also influenced the Malawians, because if you remember when we're talking about Tanzania, the Bantu people, they were the one who introduced iron work to the Tanzania. So they did the same thing also to the Malawians people. That is why the Malawians were among the earliest set of people in the world who have access to iron work. And that was how they've been until in 1901, in 1883, in 1883 when the British came.
We have talked about the pre-colonial era.
Yeah.
That's the life. Now, I want us to look at the colonial era, the colonial influence, or let's say external influence on the Malawians' life.
Yeah.
What can you say? I want you to trace the connection between the Portuguese influence and the British influence on the Malawians. How has that changed the life of the people? What have they done that were in the past and are no longer in existence as a result of the influence of these people? I want you to connect these two, particularly the Portuguese British influence on the Malawi.
You see, basically the Portuguese, alongside the Arabs, they were into a barbaric, inhuman, selfish, callous slave trading. They used the Malawians just as they used many other Africans, capturing Africans, selling Africans to the Arabs and the Portuguese. The British only instills the barbaric nature of what was going on between the Arab and the Portuguese.
But it was repackaged.
It was repackaged. They came with the face of business. They came with the face of trading. They came with all sorts of deceit, even religion, and deceit, But what did they do? In fact, at a point in time, they even changed the Malawi to Inyeslan, Later, the name was changed back to Malawi. That was around 1959 when the Inyeslan African Congress has its first election. So it was also within this period that Hastings Benda, who will eventually become the first prime minister of Malawi, also returned from America after spending so many years in America, England, and Ghana studying. He came back, and because of his activities, and his anti-colonial activities, he was a voice. He was thrown into prison, but later, when they want to have the London Constitutional Conference in 1960, they have no option but to bring him out of the prison, because he was one of the most enlightened people in that country at the time. So he took part in the London Constitutional Conference, and later the Inyesla African Congress was changed to Malawi Congress Party, where there was a first election in 1962 and he won. So, but between 1962 and 1964, when the people gained their complete independence, but for me, I don't see it as a quasi-independent. 1965.
That's when
between 1962 and 1965, when the people have their paper independent.
Paper-based.
Paper independent. Because the British were directly or indirectly still in control of the economy of the country. But on ground, the British were not there until in 1965 before they got the independence.
I think that is imperialism.
That is imperialism.
Imperialism has been the game of the colonial masters.
Yeah.
They left, but they did not leave completely.
Yeah.
They left their puppets there to convey their message for them in their domain. Because it's like you have already occupied the space, like what is happening in South Africa now. The battle between the white farmers and the black farmers. They're saying that they need to release the land for the black because it was meant for them. It was the white that their great-grandfather that took over from the original owners of the land. And today, they are fighting to redistribute the land to make sure that it cuts across everyone, whether you are black or white like that. It's no longer going to be the major part of the land in South Africa were owned by the whites. Now they want to change everything. That's what is really very hot now in South Africa. Yeah. The same thing applicable. These people left, but did not leave completely. Every African country you see all over the world. They left them, but they put their puppet there who was reporting to them, and they warned them, if you misbehave, we have other people we're going to deal with. A lot of things are interwoven. So the issue of paper is not only in Malawi, it also happened in other African countries.
Yes, I think what you have said has just reminded me of the word of Imran Hussein, where he said the British has a PhD in deception. You see, they will come, they are so subtle. They will come, they have a way of disguising themselves. They will come and they will, what we come to know in a political terminology today as divide and rule, they will come with this face. They will take some people as though they love them. Yeah. For instance, they went to almost most of the African countries. In Ethiopia, they took Haile Selassie. In Nigeria, they took Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe. In Ghana, they took Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, and so on and so forth. The subtle way how these people operate is that they will come, they will show you they love you, they want to do this, they want to do that. But they don't, that was not their target. Their target is to enslave you. And how did they enslave you? They enslave you by making you hate yourself. They enslave you by making you hate your skin.
Through media propaganda.
Through media propaganda. And if they see, even education. Indoctrination. For instance, in my country, I'm aware that some people were meant to reverted or to converted. Some people were forcefully converted to Christianity before they could go to school. Some people were meant to change their name. And how these people operate, that I think most African leaders, my dad was a victim of that. Some African leaders don't still understand them. Some African youth don't still understand them. I think it's high time Africans need to understand that we have all it takes to be more than America. We have all it takes to be more than China. But how do we achieve this? We have to achieve this by starting to like ourselves, to appreciate ourselves, to love our color.
We'll discuss about this. I know you have a lot to say. I want us to go into the literature.
Yes,
that is where you are going to explore.
Part of the literature.
Before you get into that in detail, because I know anytime I put you, it's like I put the foil in you and I allow you to just keep flowing like that. All right, let's go into the Malawi literature. What was Malawi literature? Before the colonial masters, during the colonial exploitators, you call the Portuguese and Arab, and the so-called package name called colonialism, they are still exploitators. But they just use the word colonialism to make it lightened. So what was their literature then? When they left, what was the literature that the Malawians came up with, and what are they having up to today?
I think before 1965, there wasn't any serious thing you could call literature, except the folk tales, the fables, the oral poetry and all that. Because the people were in a state of disarray. They do not have what some of us from the West African countries have. That some of us were able to write early enough, people like Amos Tetula, people like the Kameralaye, the African Child, and all that. These people didn't have the opportunity because they grip of the Portuguese and the British on them, just like their neighbor, and the Arabs and their Arabs. They're not able to write anything serious. So from a huge material consulted, it's difficult to point at any literature, serious literature before 1965. And shortly after the independence, the literature of Malawi or Malawians literature could be described in the press as a protest literature, because Dr. Heston Bender, who they see as their Moses, who before their full independent, but for me, I don't see it as a full independent. I see it as a quasi-independent, because paper independence is not independence. Economic independence is what is independence. The British said, okay, we have given you paper independence, but they are still on ground. Just like what you have cited the other time that is happening in South Africa. The white are still controlling the economy of that country, even though you have a black man who often dances to the tune of the white. The economy is in the hand of the white. So if you are a leader and you don't have the economic power, to me you are not a leader. So it was the same thing that played out in Malawi. And these people, they have their way of doing things. So the literature that comes after the independence was described as a protest literature, because Dr. Heston Bender failed the people, rightly or wrongly, but from huge information
as agent of the
colonialists, because from huge materials we consulted before now, we're able to understand that he wasn't doing what he was preaching when the colonial masters
you have forgotten
were fully on ground.
He was trained in the West. He was trained.
Yes, UK, America.
Yeah, he came back with the ideology of the West. You understand? So it will not be possible for such a person to have the same mind with the people at home. He didn't feel the pain people felt.
Yes, that's true.
He was from a very simple, easy life, coming to take over and control the people who had felt the pain, who could have managed their own resources according to their experience, and be able to manage properly. But this one came from easy life to another easier life. You know, they just gave him the key. Well, you were living in our own area before. We want you to go and serve as our agent. Here is the key. If you misbehave, we'll eliminate you.
If you permit me to contextualize issue, I would like to speak in the following terms. I think it's a great mistake for most African elites, especially the political class, the bourgeoisies. They see it as a pride. They see it as eating their fellow Africans by always sending their children to the Western world to school. I am not trying to say there's anything wrong with that. It's good. But I, as a person, for instance, if my child must go and school in Europe of America, he or she must finish secondary school and even first degree at home. Because this will enable him or her to have the feelings, to have the background knowledge. I can think the way I can think today about my country, Nigeria, about my people back in Doma or Nasarawa State, my people, my ancestors from Ukari, Jukun. I can think about them because I was able to school at home. Now I'm not at home. But wherever I am, I know my identity. I know my people. I can feel them. They can feel me. I know their pains because I had my formative years at home. But some people will even send their children to go to secondary school.
As early as even nursery school.
As early as even nursery school. So they know little or nothing. So even when they come back, they will just be carrying African name, African identity, but they don't have the feelings. Because they have not experienced what people back at home have experienced.
Just like a car with a different engine. You have the Toyota car and you have Nissan engine.
You have Nissan engine. So how will it operate as a Toyota? So this is the problem. And why some of these African elites, especially the political class, are doing it, because they refuse to do what they are supposed to do at home. They refuse to do what...
And they are scared of what the people at home will do to their children.
And they are scared of what the people at home will do to their children.
For the safety of their children.
But the irony of that is that most of those children sent abroad, they come back home and become leader. And they come back home with a foreign ideology.
Because it's designed like that.
Because
they design it in such a way that once they leave, their children will take over.
We step into their shoes.
So
but we are not saying there's anything wrong in that, in as long as they will keep on doing the right thing, in as much as they will have African at heart, in as much as they will be Pan-African in every sense of the word, in as much as they will fix our schools, in as much as they will fix our roads, our hospitals. Okay, now, why would Nigerian leaders, for instance, always want to go abroad? We have the National Hospital. We have so many hospitals. Today in Nigeria, I forgot his name. In Nigeria was the head of American medical teams. It was it was the head of American medical team for the children hospital. One of the best. He's one of the best in the world. He's Nigerian. Some of the best doctors that the so-called black leaders go to meet in Saudi, like our former president, Musa Yar'Adua. The doctor that operated him was a Nigerian. He works in Saudi hospital, but he's a Nigerian. The same thing today, they will say, okay, Nigerian doctor are not this, they will go to America, they will go to China.
The same thing happened in Malawi. Malawi that we are focusing on, you know, up to today.
So why can't you believe in ourselves?
Let's look at the linguistic, look at that linguistic influence, the literature of the Malawi. Let's look at this. They have their own language.
As a scholar, before I came to this studio, I consulted huge materials. I have not seen anything written in any of the languages speaking in Malawi. There are little or no writing, but I can't tell you of a title of a book, whether a play or a novel or a collection of poetry or short story or even a folktale that is written in Malawian language. The only language I know of they write is the language introduced to them by the so-called Caucasians. This is to tell you how far or how the people are somehow departing from their language. Because language to me is the chief carrier of culture. If you can't speak your mother tongue, if you can't write it, if you can't do anything in it, it means you are 50 meters or miles away from the culture.
Actually, it's not that they didn't write in their language, but it's not popular, it's not common. They appreciate English more than anything in Malawi. You know, if you write a text in the local language, they don't appreciate it much like that. And the government does not promote the local writers. That's why it's a little bit challenging to see the work. There are a lot of great scholars who have written, who have done a lot of things in the language, but nobody. It's something that is common like that. They've that stereotypical mind of believing that everything comes from the West is the best.
I think
so it makes it really affected the people. That is why the work of the original people, if you ask a Malawian to give you maybe great, just like we were able to touch Hadrawi here, you know, we have Hadrawi, people like Hadrawi in Malawi that are still doing great up to today.
But they are not known.
They are not known
internationally.
Internationally, only Malawians who are old Malawians, particularly who are in the West, they enjoy the music called from the work of these people. But the rest, they don't care much about it. That's why it's a little bit difficult to get a hold of materials written as foreign person. I'm not talking about locally. You can find them. If you are in Malawi today, you would have got locally printed materials, but supported or translated or having a project where they will be translating the work of the local people who have written things that affect the life of the people. You cannot find that outside.
I think from what you said has made me in so many ways to appreciate the Somalis, to love the Somalis. Why am I saying what I'm saying? If you love who you are, if you love your language, if you cherish your culture, you will do everything to protect it. Yeah. And this is what I see among the Somalis. This is what I see among the Yorubas. This is what I see among the Hausas. This is what I see among the Igbos and Arabs. You see, when you love your culture, when you love who you are, you'll be proud of your identity. This is what Africans should begin to think of. For instance, I love what Ngugi was doing. He stopped writing for some time, though some of the works were translated back to English. He wrote in Kikuyu language. Yeah. I think it is high time for Africans to begin to appreciate who they are, especially African children. Enough of celebrating Man U United, Manchester United. These people don't know you. They don't know you.
And they beat themselves because of
that.
And
they beat themselves. Some even die.
They become enemies, family members, enemies, just because of Manchester United
or Man U.
They no longer talk to each other again. They become enemies. And those people don't know them.
They don't know you.
They make money because they watch the TV, the channel that they watch. The more you tune into that channel, the more the channel you put money into the pockets of the owners.
Wallowing in poverty.
Anyway, I want us to let us end this way, because we are going to be going deeply into the nitty-gritty of the Malawian literature. And that is where we're going to be able to explore some part and relate it to the life of the people more. So, dear viewers, by next time you meet us, we'll be going deeply into the exploration of Malawian literature. See you next time. Thank you.